itself. And this is just making a jacket. Okay, so let's talk about that. So first, and this goes, and that's the thing is like even in a blockout stage, if I'm doing a jacket or a vest or whatever, I suppose a vest I might not do in Marvelous Designer, but if it's a shirt or something, the Marvelous Designer is going to give me my primary and secondary forms. So in that case, when I go into ZBrush and I remesh it and all that stuff, and all of that can be found on my YouTube channel here. So if you just go, where is my YouTube channel? Here it is. Let's just go to my YouTube channel, and we can do like Marvelous Remesh, or just type in Marvelous, and we'll talk about like Marvelous Pants. That's a remesh thing. I do it a bunch. ZBrush Shirt. You can see me, this one, Dress, Retopologize, UV, and Detail. That's probably the best one. You can see that process. But let's go ahead and hit comma key. And let's go into Tool. Yeah, I'll do the modified Nick Z humanoid here. For you guys, you won't have access to this Z tool. You'll have to go in here to Layers and say Bake All or Delete All. And then he'll look a little bit different from me. Hey everybody, thanks for showing up. I am okay. I'm drinking some hot water to see if I can't. I got some allergy stuff going on, and I do need to schedule a shots appointment here. So we have X turned on, and I'm going to go through here, and we'll just block out a quick vest like we had in that one video. And so if I go here, oops, boy, I'm already having a hard time. And we can go ahead and open this up, and there we go, we got a vest. Now, if I go through here, we can do a mask lasso. I'm just going to switch back to mask pin, and we'll just go ahead and say this will be our blockout vest. And again, you could do this in Marvelous Designer. Also, another thing I like to do is duplicate this off, so when I go down here, I'm not going to destroy my original geometry. Geometry, edge loop mask border. That didn't work great, so I'm going to hit Control W to make this all in polygroup, isolate it by Control Shift, hitting that, and then we'll go ahead and just do a delete hidden. Now I'm going to run my macro here, assuming I still have it loaded, polish polygroup border. And then I'll go ahead and polish these borders here, so when I have X turned on and I go to ZRemesh, adaptive size down to 0, let's try that in half. That'll give me a decent blockout. Let's do same. I'm just looking for a low res representation. And before you do that, if you wanted to, you can like pull these to corners here. I'm going to use my Move Acu brush. And anything that comes out of my mouth, you can just look up on my YouTube channel. Look at, well, let me make sure I'm not lying to you. Let's see. There we go. Move Acu. Acu, A-C-C-U. And you can set that up. That's not hard. And then we're going to go down here. We'll do another ZRemesh same. And that way ZRemesh will look at what I gave it and go, oh, you want corners there. And it'll do a fairly decent job. Hold on, let me stabilize my keyboard here. So we have this. Now, the question was, how do you get past the blockout stage? Because, you're starting to, if you go through here and you say, okay, QMesh, polygroup all, and you pull out a thickness, and then let's go ahead and turn on our original mesh here. So we've got a little Aladdin vest. And if we start sculpting on this, let's go ahead and crank up our lazy radius a little bit. It's under your stroke menu. It is going to start sculpting through, and that's okay generally speaking. However, where it can become a problem is if you have, like, say, maybe clay buildup, and you're going through here, and now it's going to start pulling these faces through the object. So if I go down here to display properties, turn off double, it's not going to look weird. It's going to be like, okay, everything's fine. And then when you turn on double, you're going to start seeing, I mean, you shouldn't have double turned on, but when you do turn on double, it'll expose some problems you're having, like the back of the shirt coming through the front. So if you want, and you really, because I mean, in some instances you do want to have this turned on. So if you go to brush, auto masking, and you go down here to, backface masking. You turn on backface masking for every brush. So if you turn on backface masking with move, it'll start acting a little bit weird. It'll be like, okay, I can just move the front side of this, which is fine if that's what you want to do. That's useful. In this case, though, if I just want to move this outside polygroup here, let's hit Control W, make it a little more obvious. I would, instead of doing backface with the move tool, I would turn mask by polygroups up to 100, and now I can just move this outer polygroup here. However, unlike the clay buildup, if you turn on backface masking, you can start sculpting through, and it's not going to touch anything in here. So if your blockout is fairly close, and that's where I would say, like, when you're doing clothing, geometry, subdivision, what are we looking for here? Geometry. So the subdivision level is at 0 right now. So you can go through here, and I would say on the big primary reads, like through here, I would say just go ahead and keep that on, and probably you want to have X symmetry turned off so you can, clothing isn't symmetrical. And then, we can start subdividing this. Now to keep these edges crispy, there's a couple things we can do. We can go to crease here, and we can say, and actually I would probably start doing this before I started sculpting. Go here to crease PG, and that'll crease your, crease PG. That'll go ahead and crease your polygroups here. However, if I hit D for dynamic subdivisions, you're going to see it's going to round those corners out. If you don't like that, just run a crease tolerance. We'll put that up to like 40 something. And then now it'll go ahead and keep those corners nice and crispy, or you could go into the ZModeler brush and just hover over that edge and crease it. And so let's go ahead and let's do Shift D to turn dynamic subdivisions off. That's right here. And then now we can hit Control D, which will give us a real subdivision because we want real subdivisions to sculpt on. And if you want to keep this symmetrical and this asymmetrical, you can turn X back on, and that's just going to go to Transform X Symmetry. And we can go through here, and we can start blocking this out. Now again, primary forms, I would say go ahead and keep backface masking on as long as it's keeping those two the correct distance apart. So if I just have those two, you can see it's just following along underneath, which is nice. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as you're not taking a really crazy brush like clay tubes or clay buildup tend to, if you have backface masking off, like I said before, tend to really pull those inside faces out. If that's the case and you're having that problem, turn on backface masking. But as I continue to subdivide, these are going to stay really crispy. So if I subdivide one more time, I'm going to go, you know what? Geometry, uncrease all. And then, we're still going through here and we're still, let me get my reference out and let me make some cloth folds. And again, like if it's going to be this wrinkly, I would just have it in Marvelous Designer, and then all of these primary and secondary forms would be already just made for me a lot more accurately. But now when I hit Control D, because I've uncreased everything, that'll go ahead and soften those transitions. If it doesn't soften it enough, just go here with the smooth, and you can just smooth those out even more. If it smooths it too much, hold down Shift and then drop that Z intensity down. If it doesn't smooth enough, that's where you go into grab Smooth Stronger. And Smooth Stronger for you guys will be under your comma key brush, smooth brushes, and then Smooth Stronger. So we got that. And then, if past this point, you shouldn't have you shouldn't have a whole lot of problems. Let me see if this is, did I lose something here? Oh, I cranked my Z intensity up accidentally, I guess. So, so now you're going through here and you're detailing this up, and you can always step back down and work on your primary forms, secondary forms, and then when you get really high, you can go through and you can start detailing. And when you're detailing, your brush size will be small enough to where it shouldn't really be interfering with the underside things. But if it is, if you get a little bit and you don't want it, and you want your mesh to generally follow your primary forms to follow, but past that point, just turn on backface masking for any brushes you're using. So there's that. First 10 videos of this chapter worth the full package price. Maybe your note should highlight the Gumroad offering more clearly. Only saw the tutorial series randomly. Yeah, okay. I'll see if I can make that a little easier to find. And you sure are going too slow in this tutorial. I don't hear that very often. Of course, that's 6-year-old video. Maybe I was slower back then. Cool, excellent. Glad. Hopefully these videos will help. And if you guys are wondering, there's a new video series out there. The first 54 videos of the series is already up. So if you go to my YouTube channel here, wait for it, and we go to playlist, or it should just be right here, the ZBrush for Ideation, and it's 55 videos plus so 54 plus the intro video. And if anything new comes out, or I think of anything, or if there was one comment on here that was like, hey, out of order topics, and I can go through and I can massage this playlist. So I'll be updating this as needed. Hey everybody, thanks for showing up. Going through my YouTube comments here, I've been really slacking on that. Cool. Let's see. Is there any way you can do a tutorial on a process for relief sculptures inside of ZBrush? I'm not too sure how to exactly approach it myself. Yeah, there's like a few. Ooh, let's take off my caps key. Here's relief stamp capture. You know what I should be doing? We can go check this out. So here's going through, and this is all in my video series too, but here's a version of that. So if I go through here, and let's just, while we're thinking about this, we'll just share this. And I will go back here, and we will say, guess I don't need to go back all the way through. And this video series was that ornate ZBrush helmet, and that might be another thing we can talk about. Cool, awesome. Hopefully these videos help everybody. Cool, I can. A lot of memory character. Oh, that's the Unreal characters. Yeah, haven't messed with those in a while. Okay, this one I did link directly to the product. I did change that. Is there another way to see the front, left, back, and right like other 3D softwares like 3D Studio Max? So in ZBrush, it is a little different. You're not going to have orthographic views. There might be a plugin I'm not aware of, but if we go back to our Nixie humanoid here, whoa, let's go back in here. Unfortunately, yeah, if you want to do like orthographic modeling, where it's like I want a quadrant up here, that's my left-hand side, and then I want a quadrant down here, that's my front, and then and I'm just doing Shift S, by the way. And then have those views all sync up. I'm trying to think if there's a interesting way to do that, or a kind of a hacky way to do that. And off the top of my head, I'm not sure. So on my chat here, let's see, from Dirkzilla, I was wondering if you had anything for Maya, like your intro to ZBrush course, or if not, any suggestions are pretty comfortable with ZBrush for topology and UVs. I'd like to learn more Maya. Oh, thank you. I'm glad the videos helped on ZBrush. So I don't have an intro to Maya stuff, and I would love to sit down and do like the basics of 3D and baking and topology, but I guess I could do that in Maya. I'd probably do it in Maya and Blender, but I gotta learn Blender first. But if you do go to my YouTube channel here, there is some stuff. It's a little bit dated. We got Maya Booleans in here, the Stingray shader, Maya Blend Shapes plugin. The one I was thinking of in particular is the here's like Quad Draw, and where that's going to be at is under the playlist here. There's a reptile creature series. Where's that at? Got so many reptiles hanging out in these thumbnails. You can tell I really milked that content. Intro to ZBrush Part 2, Reptile Creature Series, geez. So I'll click on the title here, and then in this series, there's there's just 2. I wish I had more. That would be something for me to sit down and do. I've been using Maya since I started Ringling, so 2001 or 2000-ish, and I haven't done a whole lot of Maya videos. Oh, for the person asking about the ortho views, using custom views is your best option, like front, back, custom, one, etc. Okay, so if you do want, that's a good point. So thank you for bringing that up, pre-drag. You do have the option, a couple different options for this, and we can go into document. And if you want to store these views, and then you can assign these to hotkeys here. It's not going to allow you to have synchronous views, so you can see your orthographics in these quadrants or anything. But you can go, okay, let me store a front, and that automatically stores a back. Let me store a right, and it's automatically going to store a left. And let me store a top. It's going to store a bottom. And then custom one, you can do like front 3/4, and then you can do like a back 3/4. And so with all of that, you can, I think you can assign hotkeys to that. Control Alt tap, press any key combination, Alt P. And now if we do Alt P, it'll snap to my back view. So you can, or you can just hit these buttons, beep boop, bop, beep boop. Also, if you need a little bit more buttons or a little bit more control, you can do clear all. You can clear them and start over. You can do movie. Let's go ahead and just take this movie and just drag it over here. Timeline. Now this one, I don't know if you can label these things. I've never actually tried it. So we can go, okay, if this one's going to be front, and we'll go ahead and just tap again. This one will be side, and tap again. This one will be back, and this one will be right, and then top, and then bottom. You guys get the idea. Now this one, you can either swim through it, through your views, or you can use your arrow keys, left and right. You just have to know what order it's in. Or I think you can just click on these things, and they'll just hop to it. So, but generally speaking, I don't do a whole lot of, like, while I'm modeling, I'll bring in some reference I want to model to. So I'll go to like texture, import. Don't need my thumbnails today. We'll go to desktop. Do I have some stuff in here? Yeah, I always got this. I always got Peter ready to help me out. Texture, grab that texture here. If I want to match some reference, we can pretend this is a whole body or something. We can go in here, and then I'll hit Z. And then if I wanted to like match this guy for whatever reason, or I just want to do a head sculpt. And in fact, let's just do that. Let's hold down Control Shift. We'll go into Slice Curve, and it's like, okay, we're doing a bust. And then we'll do, let's hit Control W, and then Slice, and then Delete Hidden. Geometry Modified, Topology, Delete Hidden. So now we have Axisymmetry turned on, and we can line this up. We can turn on Perspective. We can go to Draw, and we can play with our angle of view and to match our concept up. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to start moving this, but as soon as I start moving it around and I want to match my concept, I have to go back here and like snap it. So I'm going to go ahead and just drag these things out of here. And now in this case, what I can do is I can go through here and I can be like, okay, here's my view. I'm going to put a little dot in here. And then now I can go through here and I can turn off Shift Z and I can move it around. I can sculpt in the round, and then I can hit Shift Z again, and then we just do the back arrow, front arrow. It'll snap us back. If you have multiple views, of course, if you have like, I do have a front view and I do have a side view, and you load those up in Spotlight or whatever, you can put these dots here, and then you can just cycle through your reference, and you can always snap back to it if you want to load multiple there. But generally in ZBrush, if I want to see the front, I'll just hold down Shift and just snap it. And you can see the slice was a little skewed. That's because I had perspective turned on when I sliced it. So you want to be careful of that. I would say turn perspective off. That'll get you a nice clean slice through. Delete Hidden. There we go. So yeah, if I want to see the front, hold down, as I'm turning, hold down Shift and snap. If I want to see the top, hold down, start turning towards the top, hold down Shift and snap. Back, left, top. It's just having Shift held down if I want to snap to the side. Does the timeline save with the tool? I don't think it does. So let's go to movie here. Movie, load, we load a movie, timeline. So we can load and save a timeline. So when it comes to saving a tool, that's a good question. Like, so file, save as, going to save your Z project. I think this Z project file, save as Z project, might save the timeline. But usually what I'm doing is I'll go through here and I'll be like, okay, I just want to save my Z tool. And your Z tool will save all your subtools, all your polypaint, all your texture information, anything you find in this tool menu, it will save those properties. So I'll just go to Tool, Save As, and I'll save a Z tool. Saving Z projects is a little bit of intrusive because it'll blow away anything I'm working on. So I just usually want to load up a tool into what I'm working on. I mean, separately from what I'm working on, but within the session of ZBrush, if you have a file save as, that's going to load up an entirely new session of ZBrush. It'll wipe out any Z tools you're working on, all that good stuff. So that might be more or less useful for you. Cool. Yeah, but if you do save a Z tool, make sure you do go in here to the movie and then do timeline save and then load that up. I mean, it's not the best. Let me go. There we go. Okay. Moving right along. I wish, you know what? Can I just go to... It's just going to load more. Okay, notifications. Okay, why am I bad about this? Community. I just want to see channels. I just want to see the damn chat without having to go up here. Can I... Push an email. Ugh. Okay. Well. Oh, yes. Good point, Babu. So if you do have Spotlight and you have multiple textures loaded, so if you have Spotlight open and you go in here and you go to import, you can just grab multiple textures here. We'll go to open. It'll automatically, oh, I guess you have to have it active. Hit Z, texture, import, and then when you import, there we go. It'll go ahead and load these up. So if you want to do like, hey, make them all the same size, and now you want to load out your reference, and you can select multiple of these. You can go here, here. Is it? I thought you could. Okay, yeah, just have none of them selected, and then you can go through here, and you can go through and you can scale them all up, and then you can move them all around. And then this is where you can snap your timeline views. And then, but if you do want to save this, make sure you do save your Spotlight stuff. So boy, it's been a while. I guess you can't save it from here. So let's see if we go to you can tell I don't do this very often. Rotate, save, clone. Where do you save your preferences? Spotlight? No, it wouldn't be in there, would it? I have no idea. Texture menu. There, that makes sense. Texture. Thank you, chat, for helping me out because, boy. So Lightbox texture. Oh, you can also save it to your Lightbox. That's cool. So load Spotlight. You can save your Spotlight here, so you can save and load. You can also save them into your Lightbox here. So we hit the comma key. There's Spotlight. And then you can just, if you save it to this directory, which will be, yoink, ZBrush 2018, Z Spotlights, save it in that directory. And then you can just hit the comma key, and you can just load up your Spotlights from there. Pretty handy. Let's go back. Okay, yes, we talked about that. Where did we end up? There we go. So that's the front, back, left, and right 3D software stuff. Yeah, Glenn Patterson. So this, I'm going to see if I can keep this up and running, and I'm just going to go through here. So Glenn Patterson, if you click on his channel here, he does really, really deep dives into you know, the surface noise that we go over in my series. He does a ton of surface noise work. He has a surface noise plugin, Greeble Pack, and a plugin that you can use. So base functionality of what he does, I do have in my series, but like if you want to go crazy and have a lot of functionality built into your tools, go and check out his channel and you can play around with that stuff a little bit more. For sure. There we go. Okay, good. We can stay here. Cool, awesome. Thanks for the kind words, everybody. I really want to buy this, but honestly, you scare me. You know, I'm a real scary dude. I apologize for that. Cool. I don't know how to. I think it's appropriate to buy it. You know, and you don't have to. Don't buy the series. You know what? If it's a question, then absolutely don't buy it. You can use Google. And get what you need, probably. This is just a way for you to kind of step through and kind of learn in a linear fashion, and it's a little bit more organized. So But and the whole thing about, if you don't know anything about ZBrush, the whole intro series is the first 54 videos is just intro to ZBrush. So that'll give you a good introduction for free. And then if you're like, you know what, it's not for me, or you're a terrible teacher or whatever, then don't buy into the series. Cool. Can I ask why you got the Threadripper instead of Intel i7-8700K? So this one I think is like a 6-core gaming processor. Not that I don't game every once in a while, but a lot of what I do is really CPU intensive, especially on the rendering and video encoding side. So, and also doing multitasking and streaming and video encoding and modeling, and if I wanted to have Camtasia running and all that good stuff. So with all of that, I'd need a pretty beefy CPU, but your mileage may vary. You don't have to have a CPU that does all that. If you're just going to go home at night and just sit down and model, then use your best judgment on price per functionality. But for me, it's already paid for itself. Just in time savings, because I'm a very, very impatient content creator. I'm not Turkish that I know of. I'm going to go look at my ancestry DNA and see if I have any. Make some more tutorials for Houdini. Man, I would love to. Houdini and Blender are my next two things I want to tackle. And right now I'm kind of hosed at work, so I don't know if I'm going to have enough time in the short term. Long term, absolutely. We'll get on it. Wish you could have provided the model to work along with this, the robot model. Let me make a note of that. I can throw that up there. But the robot model itself, actually, now that you mention it, one thing we do, okay, we don't do it in the first part. I think it's part 1. But if you just look up IMM or Insert Mesh Brush on my channel, making a robot, we do that as a blockout. Like literally that robot I made is essentially, let's play this here. Just in that, oh, here it is. This is in that blockout phase. We kind of do some drawing as a robot and stuff, but they're in the blockout phase. Yeah, so we just make those robots, and it's really fun and easy to do. And again, this is just getting your ideas out. So, it is part 1. So, but you can just look up insert mesh brushes and then just make a robot using what we did. It's nothing super special or anything. Ah, damn it, did I lose it? Okay, good, it's still here. CPU cooling solution, AMD WX or water cooling. So my water cooling here is a Enermax something or other. This cooler wasn't installed by me. The 1950X had a different cooler, but I don't have it up here anymore. But this machine, the 2990WX, is an Enermax cooler. Hope that helps. You can probably look up Threadripper Enermax, and that'll be what I'm using. Cool. How do you make it follow the path? When I insert meshes into the curve line, it just kind of points away from it, not really following the path. So for that one in particular, we can talk about that. Actually, let me restart ZBrush. Get caught up here. Cool, Jack. Thanks for showing up. Yeah, 2 ZBrush presets, one for sculpting over seam and texturing. Yeah, yeah. So also to Predrag's point, you can use Z tools or Z projects here. So if you just start this up and you want to save a custom project in here, like that has a nice setup, because Z projects save everything in your interface and it'll load up a default model. So if you're ready to get rolling and you have all these different settings you'd like to have, then just save a Z project, and then when you can load it up and you're good to go. But yeah, when I'm at work or when I'm at school and I'm teaching and stuff, and somebody sends me a Z project, I'll have stuff loaded up, and then I'll hit open their Z project, and it'll just wipe it out, and then I'll have all their weird settings and stuff. So, I guess it goes both ways. Your trust handle name is Piggy Son. That is correct. Hey Bertram, how's it going? I am standing up while I work, and if you want to see more about that, this is a little bit dated, but also I'm getting a lot of hardware questions in my comments here. If you go to my YouTube channel, and let's just do a search for work. I think work will do it. Workstation, if you want to get a little bit more Oh, you know what? Okay, so there's a Threadripper workstation set up, and I'm standing at a desk right here. Although I think I'm getting old. Like my knees, they're starting to go. Oh yeah, so we were inserting, make an insert mesh follows a path. When I insert meshes into the curve line, it just kind of points away from it, not really following the path. I mean, if you're just making, so if it is like an insert mesh brush and you just want an insert mesh brush to follow the path, you don't worry about welding or anything. We can go to brush, oops, we got something here. And we can go to like brush, BI, brush insert, and we got primitives here. Let's see if we can find something just simple so we can kind of play around with this. So if you do go to like, say industrial parts, and then you want to go into your stroke menu and you go down here to the curve and you turn on curve mode, these have all been captured so they're facing the camera. So essentially when you drag this out, you're kind of locked in and you can touch any of these because curve mode is turned on for all of them. So for instance, this pipe right here, if you wanted these pipes to point like this way along the path instead of this way, what you're going to have to do is, and you have total control over this. And the good thing is with the new ZBrush 4R8, I believe, we have a create menu in here. So what we can do is we can take this pipe here. I can hit W and then tap the pipe, and I can just steal this pipe temporarily. So you can see when I stole it, it's looking right at me. And if I go through here and I hit B, create insert mesh, this is how it's going to draw out on the line. However, if I wanted to draw out like this, I got to go to the side, hit B, create insert mesh. We can just append this to this brush right here. So now, because this is still a curve brush, we go into stroke, curve mode still on. Now when I drag that out, they'll be going this way. Of course, it looks like it's upside down, so you may need to capture this again. So let's try this. Let's go. So we want it this way, and now we want to turn it upside down. So I'm going to go hit B, create insert mesh, append. And now if we don't like this one anymore, we just go in here and we can say delete the mesh. So now this one is going that way. So figure out which way it's going to go. And that'll give you a little bit more control over, you know, how this thing draws out, so you're not stuck with just the defaults. Of course, if you're starting from scratch and you have like a star and you go to brush, create insert mesh, new, you still have total control. We can go into stroke, turn curve mode on. So now they're all facing this way. It's like, oh, I want them facing sideways for my other brush. You can also do that. Brush, create insert mesh, append, and now we got both versions. So this one faces towards me, how I captured it, and this one faces towards me, how I captured it. So all that stuff. How to match the style of Maria Panfilova. Feels like wet clay. Let's see. Well, she has a sculpting process on her YouTube channel. So that would probably be where I'd start. Let's take a look. Through here, basic build-up. It's probably, if I had to guess, just a brush setting. Just doing a quick look. I have seen, let's see, for like goopy stuff. You can use Z-spheres for spit and stuff. You can also just use insert mesh brushes. You can also make a insert mesh brush that snaps. So for goopy stuff, I can go over a couple techniques for that. As far as like getting the final look, it's probably just a clay setting. Yeah, where it looks like a shiftlet. Not shiftlet. Who are those? What are their sculptors? It's I don't remember their names, but this is a perfect example of that. It's kind of like a very loose clay style. I don't know. I'd have to watch that video and find out exactly how she's doing that. But she might talk about it if you got time to go and watch that. But for goopy stuff here, let me load up something real quick. Intro. Come on. I know it's on here somewhere. There it is. Jeez, I'm having the hardest time this morning. Sample files and reptile creature. So, for instance, you can do big goopy reads like this, and you can there's a lot of different ways to do this. You can do, let's go ahead and delete that. So one way you can try and do it is go to append, we'll append a Z-sphere here, and that Z-sphere is just hanging out inside his head. And then through here, you can try doing Z sketching. So we can go to Z sketch, edit sketch, and then you can just use your Z sketches, and you can very quickly come up with very windy shapes in here. Of course, going from this point to this point, it's going to want to track your model here. So you can try doing a different brush stroke, like armature, and you can just kind of pull straight down, and you can do that. Then of course, once you go in here, and this is like a unified skin, you can go preview it, and you can see what you're going to get. You can say make unified skin. We can go in here, we can append that skin Z-sphere that it made. We can turn that Z-sphere off, so it's not going to confuse us. And now on this one, you can go through here and you can just smooth that out. And that'll get you kind of that thick, thin. So that's one way you can do it. Another way is just inserting. So you can go through here and you can grab any insert primitive, and you can, as you saw as I pulled out. And Sculptris Pro might be decent with this. Let's go ahead and say split on mass points here. So now here, since I started with a sphere, I can just go through and thicken this up, and then I can go through here and I can thin this out. Or I can zero mesh, if I want to keep it really clean, I can zero mesh half that size down to 0 and get like brand new topology, and then this is going to be very precise. You can also set up an insert mesh brush. So you can go, let's make a muscle brush. So let's go into our star here, and let's go down here to initialize Q cube, and we'll go ahead and scale this out. And we'll go at our Z modeler brush, bevel edge loop complete. I'm going to grab this top piece, Control W, bottom piece, Control W. So now I have a tripart brush, create insert mesh, new, stroke, curve mode, and then down here under modifiers, we want to weld those points as we go. So weld points, let's turn on stretch and curve res. There we go. So now also under stroke, we're going to want to go to curve modifiers, intensity and size. We'll go like kind of thin to very thick to kind of thin again. And now when we have this, it's kind of like a muscle brush. However, if you want the opposite, you can go in here and yeah, let's see if we can do this. Let's go to that brush create here, and we'll say copy one mesh, and then we'll paste append. So now you have the exact same version of this thing, but for this one, I want to go in here and I want to do the opposite. So I want to go from thick to thin to thick. So that'll kind of be like a saliva strand. So either one of these things you can start with. So if we go back to our model here, you can go to stroke. Let's go ahead and just pull this over here. And then we're going to go to, we can do lock, start, lock, end as line. And I can go ahead and turn off bend and snap as well. So if you wanted to go from like this tooth to this tooth, you can just drop that in there. And if you wanted to be embedded a little more, that's where you go into your depth under brush. Depth here, and we can embed this a little bit more. So we can go here to here, and then that'll give you a good starting point. Or the opposite, if you want to do muscle, you can go, oh boy, I did something weird. Update that, please. Let's go here to here. And now you've got, oops, did I do that? Here, here, so they're both strands. If I choose this one, does this really inherit? Oh, you know what? They all might inherit that property. Yeah, So I guess you have to save out different brushes if you want to do a spit strand or a muscle brush. Since these strokes are apparently global, you'd have to save those out as separate brushes. But this would be like a good tendinous muscle brush. You can go through here and you can just attach muscles, origin to insertion. And then if you want to, you can go through here and you can inflate them more individually or at the same time, and then that'll be your muscle brush here. Dogway TV says, surface noise won't wrap your model if you don't have UVs, right? Yeah, unfortunately, if your model doesn't have UVs, it's just a planar projection. So you can choose, like when you load your model up and then you go into like surface noise, it'll project how you have it positioned. So if you do need very precise positioning, you can planar project it based on your camera angle. But yeah, you'll have to use UV. I'm not always standing, but usually when I'm just doing a quick live stream like today, standing's a little bit easier. I can just you know, get up and walk away. And I sit on my butt all day long at work. I have standing desk at work too, but you know, try to stand up a little bit during the day. Projector says one thing to keep in mind when working with noise is mesh scale. Make sure it's around 2 because the scale that ZBrush likes. Yeah, so that's a good point. When we're talking, if you're ever coming into ZBrush and it's like, oh, my max size doesn't get big enough or something like that, ZBrush likes your model primitive size. So if you are just working natively in ZBrush and you're not project specific, you know, taking your mesh here and doing like, if we have something we're working on here, let's take this and I'm going to go to, let's take this and this. I guess we can do all of them. Turn off solo mode and we'll go to, and you can do this manually if you want to. And it might be better if you don't want to lose everything or you have to split everything apart if you have a very complex model. But you can go here, you can go to Subtool, Merge. You can't do it with Z-spheres though. So get rid of your Z-sphere and turn off any Z-spheres you have, and you can go to Merge Visible, and then you can take that merged visible here, and you can go into your deformation menu, Tool, Deformation, and you can do a Unify, and that'll make it the size of a ZBrush primitive. So if I go down here and we do append a cube, now you're going to see the bounding box of that will make it exactly fit that cube. So you can see the bounding box here and here, and it fits. If that's not an option for you, or you don't want to have to merge everything back, you can just go to append a cube. And when we append a cube, it automatically makes it Polymesh 3D. It does. You don't have to go through and do like cube, make Polymesh 3D. It already does it for you. So now we can hit W. We can go to Move Multiple. We can hold down Control Shift and just tap, and that'll give us. It'll mask everything. And then I'm going to Control Shift and tap this box, and then Control Shift tap, tap, tap in your document. That'll invert your selection. So now you just manually go through and just scale these subtools down. And the reason why is because ZBrush, let's turn this off, and then we'll turn our cube off. So now you can predictably, ZBrush is a little bit more predictable in this type of scale. However, a lot of times you're on a project and it is what it is. So let's say your scale is like this. We'll hit F. And the scale stuff, if you go up here to Z plugin, Scale Master, and then watch that video. So Z plugin, Scale Master, Elemental P Scale Master. Click this top part here, go and watch this video. Joseph Dressed Piggy Son will walk you through that. And then he'll talk about how the export settings here, and then also your geometry size settings. This XYZ size is multiplied by your export size to make it. It makes it a little bit more compatible in ZBrush, but you can see here, oh no, my dynamic brush, and I don't want to resize my objects. So in this case, go up here to Preferences, Draw, and you can see we have a max brush size. You can crank that up, and now you can go all the way to 5,000, but you know, what I prefer to do is instead of doing this, we'll keep this at 1,000. We can do dynamic brush scale, so we'll crank this up to like say 13, and now when we go to 1,000, it gets this big. So you can just change that on the fly, as well as if you can't get small enough, say you're retopologizing something and you want to make your brush size small, but it's only going like this big, and you've got you're doing like really tight retopologies in your Z-spheres. The opposite is also true. Just take that dynamic brush scale and just go underneath, like to 0.25 or something like that, and now you can get even smaller with your draw size. So you can see now I'm capped out here because I made it smaller. So play with that dynamic brush size scale. Deformation scale slider. You can do, deformation. There's a size, XYZ. You can also do geometry, XYZ size. But this is going to change that relationship between the size and the export options. So cool. Alrighty, let's go back to, so we followed the path. Read out, enhanced edition, cool. Check that out. Let's see what that, at 2:30 nothing happens. Okay, so we're doing this, and then we need multiple things to show up. So let's try that. Let's see if we can reproduce that. So we're going to go in here to our cylinder 3D, drag that out. Let's go down here to initialize. We'll simplify it just a bit. We don't need 32. We'll say we'll need 12. And then v-divides will drop down because I want to control that. I mean, you can go through here and you can be like X and Z size and make it thinner. And you can make these the same, make it 24 and 24 or whatever, and then you can add your v-divides to make it similar. But for me, what I like to do is just keep everything maxed out, take your v-divides down, then go to make polymesh 3D, and then I can just scale it to whatever I'd like. So I'm going to make this thinner. Go ahead and turn that off. And then we can go through here with our Z modeler brush, insert multiple edge loops. We'll go ahead and crank that up, and we can make nice even quads here, and then we'll hit W, and then we'll go into deformers here, and then we'll do like bend arc, and then we can do a bend arc, or this is a bend curve. Let's go ahead and add some resolution here, and we'll go ahead and change our axes. So now we can go through here, and we can do this, and we can twist and all that good stuff. So once we have this shape loaded out, we can hit W, we like it, and then I'm going to go through here, and let's go ahead and we can hit Control W, or I can go to Group by Normals under your Polygroup menu under Tool. Whoops. Under Tool on this side, and don't touch stuff. There we go. And then Geometry Modify Topology, Delete by Type, Delete Hidden. And then now we can go through here. You can manually go through and see if like, okay, Polygroup, Polyloop in here, and then tap Alt as you go through. You can also try to do Group by Normals with a very low max angle, and that'll get you those polygroups. That's something I probably should have mentioned in that video. So you can do that. And you can also go in here to Stroke, and then we'll do just polygroup borders. And then now this is the tricky part. I have a lot of points here. So if I go through here to like brush insert curve, and I grab a very complex curve, it could take a while. It's you're asking it to do a lot of work, a lot of polygons to draw at the same time. But now if we take this one, it should work. Let me see if I can break it. So let me see, brush, insert mesh curve, cylinder extruded. Yeah. Curve, stitch. Yeah, that one works okay. Let me think. I mean, we can try and break it if we go into edit mode here. Let's make just a brand new one. Let's see if that does anything weird. So we'll grab Ring 3D here, go into edit mode. Let's go down here to initialize. Again, I like to keep these things simple, especially when I know I can subdivide it later. I don't need all that information. So I go down here. We can change the radius here. Let's do our S divides and V divides down to like 8 and 8. Not 45, 8. And actually, even less here. We can drop that down very low. So this is all the information I'll need for this one. Let's say make polymesh 3D, and then I'll go to brush, create insert mesh, new, stroke, curve, and then go back to our working file here. Tap this one, and it does seem to be doing okay. Also in here, you can go to the stroke if you want these to overlap more. You can go down here and you can do what am I looking for? Curve step. Drop that down. And then you can update these and they'll kind of overlap a little bit so you can kind of get a little chainmail kind of look. Sorry, I can't break it. I guess I'd have to see exactly what you're doing on that one. Texture baking. Yeah, that's a little bit old. Texture needs to be baked before any of this. I'll have to go check that video out. You see this comment, any chance you could help me work out how to cut UVs in Houdini by polygroup? Okay, yeah, you can do that. Let me make a note of that. Because you have the polygroup information, all of those UV by polygroup. Oh, you know what? I think I do have that. Yes. Okay, so back on my channel here, let's go to... Oh, did I not do it? I should have just made a video about this. Now that I think about it, I probably didn't. I thought I did because that's something we do for photogrammetry is to break. So here's the photogrammetry tab, or playlists. Yeah, we did. It is useful. You can have Houdini behave like Z what am I thinking about? UV master, where you can turn on the polygroup option and it'll make those your islands, and UV based on that information. Yeah, I'll look into that. Cool. Next. Couldn't quite get the spirit in Houdini once I copied it in. Is there something else you need to do to enable instant meshes in the tab menu? Instant meshes in the tab menu. Ooh, I'll have to look at that one. I'm not sure. What is the shortcut for deselect all polygons? Deselect all polygons. Deselect all polygons. Let's see what video this is. Crease and bevel. So if you have, so really your polygon selection is generally based on polygroups. Oh, okay. So if you want it to do nothing, I can help you with. Like, you know what? I don't want to ever select a polygon ever. Let's just use this. So we have this here. So let's go through here and let's recap this. There we go. So we want to do like a hover over face here with our ZModeler brush, and we'll go to Cube Mesh Polygroup All, and we can start pulling this out. And then we can pull this out, we can pull this out. Actually, let's just do Island. Polygroup Island is going to be our target, so we can just pull these out. And then you can hold down Shift if you want to just pull along that surface normal. But let's say, and then you go in here, we can do Inset, Polygroup Island, Region, pull this in, and then like I was saying before, Cube Mesh Polygroup Island, you can hold down Shift and just pull this out. So we have kind of a terminal end here, but let's say we want to do some edge actions in here. We're going to insert single edge loop, and I keep accidentally like grabbing polygon faces or something like that. I can hover over a face and say do nothing, and that will effectively deselect polygroups. But really, if you just want control over like, oh, I just want to move these things, that's where you go into like QMesh Polygroup Island, or you can go through here and you can say maybe mask Polygroup Island, and you can just select those and then invert that, and now you just have these things available to you. You can also hold down Control and pull out. And actually, you can hold down Control, start dragging, let go of Control, and just go if that's your thing. However, in this case, what I would do instead, if I want a little bit more control, is I would say QMesh Polygroup Island, hold down Shift, and then go through here and say Insert Multiple Edge Loops, and then crank these up like so. And now I can go through here and like QMesh Polygroup All, and do this. Or if I want, I always like to do an inset a little bit. And we want to do Polygroup All, and then QMesh Polygroup All, hold down Shift. There we go. And now we can do like a crease PG, and then that'll go ahead and make that nice. And then crease level of 3, smooth so to a 4, and that'll give you a look like that. But yeah, if you want to also, if you wanted to be like, hey, I don't want all these polygroups all over the place, you can hit Control W, and that'll make it all one polygroup. And then you can go through here, or you can reset them up by going to your polygroup menu, and you can do group by normals, and then you can change this max angle back so you're only getting the normal information you want. Cool. Oops, looks like hold on just a second. There we go. Um, if you have a pretty detailed and realistic polypaint setup and you'd export that, can you use 4K polypaint texture and displacement or normal texture with substance? Um, Polypaint setup, export it. You can use the 4K polypaint texture. So when you're talking about polypaint, that's going to be based on your vertices. So you would need a dense enough mesh to support transferring that information to a 4K texture. Um, there are conversion tables for that. I don't know them off the top of my head, but like, and it also depends on how much of the UV space you're using, obviously. So if you're utilizing exactly all of the UV space, then you can get a pretty good. Okay, that was weird. Windows virus was going through, so hopefully my stream's still on. It was behaving oddly for a second there. Um, but you can transfer your polypaint information. That's something we do in our playlist here, the photogrammetry section. So even if you're not doing photogrammetry, you can still go through and check out, transferring vertex color to a texture and also going through if you wanted to go through here in photogrammetry and stuff. Hey, Seagull, thanks for showing up. So yeah, photogrammetry here, you can transfer your polypaint to texture, texture to polypaint. You can take your model back into photoscan or reality capture and retransfer your camera information, point cloud data, polypaint texture information to your new UVs. But as far as like how dense you would need to make your polymesh to transfer a 4K texture, I'm not sure how many million, and it also depends on your UV utilization. So cool. Let's see. Let's keep on keeping on. Yeah, where did I end up here? All right, I messed up my windows here. Okay, follow the path. Okay, so new copyright matches found. Review any videos that may be using your content. Interesting. Control W doesn't work, only changes the mesh color. The mesh is Control W will change your mesh color as long as you have this poly frame turned on. So if you hit Control W without that on, it's not going to change your mesh color. It's not changing your mesh color, it's giving you a new poly group. So I have this on and I hit Control W. That's changing your mesh color, but it's also giving you a new poly group. So if you hold down Control Shift and you isolate this and you hit Control W, it's changing the mesh color. But if I hold down Control Shift and tap and bring everything back, you're going to see it's giving me a new poly group here. So it is changing your mesh color. It's changing your mesh poly group color, but it's not changing your vert color. Vert color would be like color, fill object, and then hide this, and then go to, or we can even just hold down Control Shift. So we turn this polyframe back on. You can see it's a different color, and then we say green, color, fill object, and now we're changing the vert color of these things. And we turn polyframe off. Do you have tutorials on Blender? I never thought I'd need that, but I do. I don't have any tutorials on Blender. I haven't really deep dived into that at all. I've just started, but I am learning it very slowly. Hopefully I can dedicate more time to that in the future. Let's see. Discord. So on my Discord channel, Bertram sent me a little... so for example... is it going to open? Painted in ZBrush, exported to Maya, and rendered with Arnold. Yeah, discussion that utilized UDIMs for this level of detail and couldn't use it for substance. Okay. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to that level of detail, like having a separate tiling micro normal or something that you could base on poly placement and stuff. Yeah, because like hand painting that level of detail, if it is just like poor micro detail and stuff, it'll be way more economic. I mean, if budget isn't a concern, then yeah, just go into Mari and then just paint 32K textures on it for sure on every polygon if you wanted to. But yeah, if you want to be more economical with that level of detail, then yeah, just having a tiling micro normal is probably your better choice. I think. Um, okay, link to this Discord. Let's see if we can do that. Okay, so we got this. I can send you. I can send you live. Create instant invite. Copy. This will be good for 1 day. There you go. Is it impossible to move a sub palette in a custom menu? I can move it if it's empty, but if the sub palette is complete with features, I can only rename it. I think that was so early on, and I think that was actually my next question. Oh, here's the window I wanted open. Can you move the subtools palette to your custom menu? I don't think so, and I think that was the original comment. If we go back up to the guy that was saying the obtuse UI, I think that's one of the limitations of the custom UI is once you start putting in content into your submenus, I think it locks them into place. So I haven't had to worry about that in a while just because, I mean, another thing you can do is if you do want to make a big change, you can just, I would use like green shot. So I go to like print, whoops, escape. Pav custom here, I'll do a print screen and then I'll just say, hey, I need this information real quick. And then you can just go to open an image editor, and then I can have an extra window with that information. I can just put it over to the side, and I can just recreate it really quickly. Of course, for me, because I know where all these things are really quick, it is really only a couple minute process. But I could see how that could be annoying if you have to go hunt for all that stuff. Yeah, you could definitely, if you're just talking about micro detail, you can do a general poly paint and get as much information as you can transferred, and then layer detail on top of that in Substance Painter, Substance Designer, Mari, anything that'll kind of push that up, or you can throw it in Unreal and then put in your micro normals in your shader and stuff, and you make a mask. You can make a mask for different micro normals, or yeah, micro tiling micro normals. So you could have your object, and you can bring in load in a mask texture where it's like, okay, on the forehead I want this poor detail, on the nose I want this poor detail, on the cheeks I want this poor detail, on the chest I want this poor detail, and then that's just a mask, and then you can assign through those different masks different tiling poor detail. It's a little more economical. Of course, that level of detail is nuts. So, but it's one way you could do it. So that one I'm not sure. I wish I had a better answer for that one, but I don't. One thing I find is you speak so fast it can be hard to process info. And one guy earlier said I was talking too slow. I've had to slow it down. Excellent. Cool. Thanks for the kind words. Sometimes YouTube can be hit or miss. Sometimes everybody's really nice, and sometimes people can get really mean. But so far, so good. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. I'm using the Surface Studio, and one button that I use a lot is the Alt key to zoom in and out. Is there a way to add the Alt key somehow into the UI like ZBrush? That one, ooh, boy, I think you might have to get kind of fancy for that one. I'm not sure about that. Thank you. I try to talk I talk as fast as is comfortable for me, for better or for worse. Especially when I'm talking about, I know for if you're just starting out, I'm like, go to geometry, modify topology, delete hidden. It's because I say that a million times, and I don't want to go over here and be like, geometry, modify topology. And then in this menu, you will find the delete hidden button, which I can't even find because it's such a pain in the ass. So here, delete hidden. So whenever I get short, it's because I would go crazy if I had to do that every time. God, this scroll, it really just wants to scroll too much. Oh, I can't read that. I am a Slav. Cool, ZBrush 2018. And so for the monetized stuff, usually if it's like just instructional, like, hey, here's new features and you can read the documents and learn it, I'll just put that out for free. If it's process, like when I start doing more project specific stuff, I'll probably have a paid version of those, but I usually put out free stuff anyways, just because, you know, Get people learning. Cool, cool, cool. Would a shape such as this be beneficial for an IMM brush? I'm guessing I would have to lower the poly count. Yeah, exactly. So if on any sort of insert mesh brush, you just have to be cognizant. You can have a multi-million polygon insert mesh brush. It's not a deal breaker. But yeah, if I wanted to say make this entire edit mode here, turn this off, go back to white. Touch this. Okay, so if I wanted to make this entire mesh here, and this mesh is 9 million polygons, I can make this an insert mesh brush. However, like you said, it might be more economical to go ahead and just, in this case, I would probably just dynamesh it down first to get the level of detail I would want. Let's say dynamesh this. And if this is high enough, or even better, this gives me just an envelope and kind of lowers everything altogether. And then before I make it an insert mesh brush, say it's going to be just something smaller, or I want it to be along a curve. If you're doing along a curve or you're going to use this as a nano mesh brush, then yeah, you're really going to want to make this reasonable. Because remember, you are asking ZBrush to do like, hey, take this 8 million polygon thing and then multiply it 42 times. In any other program, it's going to be like, yeah, right, don't even try. ZBrush will try, and sometimes it does succeed depending on how much RAM you have. But generally speaking, if I drop this down to say 20K, oh wait, preprocess first. So we're at 218,000. We could still maintain a lot of this detail and still drop it down significantly, I'm sure. So again, like 20K here, we can decimate. And it's like, okay, that's all the information I need. Now this is a much more reasonable insert mesh brush. So create insert mesh new. It's still high, don't get me wrong, it's still 20,000 polygons. So if you wanted to do like a nano mesh here, switch plane, control new, I would still be like, a little weary. Let's go ahead and say make polymesh 3D, geometry, reconstruct. Let's go here, delete higher, delete lower. So we can, with this one selected, it's an insert mesh brush, so one thing we can do, there's a couple different ways you can go about this, but one easy way to do this is to brush, create nanomesh brush out of that one. And so now when I hover over this face and create insert nanomesh on polygroup all, we can just drag out all of those things here. Let's go down here to our, not that we need to do this, but here, and then align to normal. There we go. So now we can do our Z offset. Ta-da! And then you can go through here and you can move these things around, and again, it's just going to stick with here. We do fit or fill. Yeah, now they're going to get all squishy. And then we can say our size is 1. So, so you can, have pretty complex meshes, and you can use it. You just got to be cognizant that you are asking ZBrush to draw a lot of polygons. So. Alrighty, next. Keep going back to the wrong. Alright, this is scrolling through, is getting, okay, good. Let me close these windows so I know exactly where I need to go back to. Here, 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 and here. Okay. I am your hero. You guys are too kind. Perfect. Excellent. Has some problems with frame mesh. When I apply my stitch brush to my frame mesh, it applies it twice. The loop continues twice before completing the whole thing. Yeah, so what happens there is, let's do that. I think what's happening anyways. We'll go here and we'll grab our trusty sphere, edit, make polymesh 3D, hold down Control Shift, and we'll go through here and we'll slice here. And then we want to go to like brush, BI brush insert curve, and we'll just grab scales. So now if we have X symmetry turned on, actually let's do a quick mirror and weld. So we have X symmetry turned on, and we go through here and we want to say, okay, stroke, frame, our polygroup border, and then we tap on here. You're going to see if we tap off and we do split mask points, and we hold down Control Shift, we'll grab one and we'll hold down Control Shift and drag. Actually, that's all the same polygroup, isn't it? We're getting a weird double draw on there. So what that's coming in is we have X symmetry turned on. So we'll go ahead and delete this. It's putting in one this way and one the other way. So we'll go ahead and turn X off, and then now when you frame it and tap, it should just do 1. And if these are two stacked close together, you may have to curve step. This curve step I don't think is going to change. Yeah, it's just going to spread them out more. It's going to stretch them out more. But for insert mesh brushes, boy, my brain is gone. I don't know. I might have to call it a day. Let me think. We can pass that along, pass that information along. And then on the curve brush, that was just be if they're repeating, but if it's a tri-curve brush, boy, I have no idea. My brain just went dead. Well, I think there's a way to do it, but I really don't remember what it is. Everybody loves red wax. For the cooling horizon was a series of the Corsair. I'm going 1950X. The same cooling. This one, the 1950X, I don't really remember that, but like I said, the Enermax is what I'm using for my 2990WX. Boy, I am like way behind on comments. What the hell? Instead of using ZBrush, how about combining Mudbox and 3D Studio Max for simplifying the mesh? Not sure about good retopology though. Yeah, you can use whatever you want for simplifying your mesh. You can use Houdini, anything you want to use for that, for sure. Cool. Okay, I think I'm all caught up. All right. Any last minute questions? We had a pretty good run, but my brain is just like, ugh, I can't even function. What can I look for when ZBrush won't reconstruct subdivision? There's some pre-process to make the mesh reconstructible. There's really not, and it'll yell at you too if you have anything that has. Okay, so we can do this. Let's do this. So we have polymesh ring here, and we're like, okay, I want to work on this. Make polymesh 3D. We go subdivide, subdivide, and if I happen to go in here and I merge it with something or I delete lower, I can always go back through here and reconstruct. Eventually, it's going to tell you unable to reconstruct lower subdivisional operation canceled. Or what can also happen is we can subdivide, subdivide, delete lower, and then we can go through here and we can slice. And now we've introduced triangles. So now when I hit reconstruct, it's going to say reconstruct triangles, mesh contains triangles, operations canceled, because you can't reconstruct a triangle any further. It's as far down, actually here, this triangle, it's as far down as it's ever going to go. So in this case, what I might do, if you're able to, and not that this is not going to help you or anything, but if you did need to remesh this, we use area mesher, same, that size down to 0, and oh boy, that didn't work great, did it? Man, it really wants to do some weird stuff. There, that looks a little bit better. Well, I picked a bad shape for that demo, but so what you can do is you can remesh it, project your detail back, and then you'll have subdivision history again if it is just like a general organic mesh. Cool. Alrighty. Well, I don't think I have anything in my streaming topics, and I think I'm going to call it a day unless anybody else has some last minute stuff, because I am just not firing on all cylinders. When I do this, I'll go back through my YouTube comments and I'll link them to this video with timestamps and stuff so everybody can get caught up. I just figured that'd be some decent content. Alrighty. Oh, and I'll be on, I didn't do Pixelogic stream this Tuesday, but I'm going to do it next Tuesday. So if we go in here to streaming and we do Pavlovich Workshop, so if you just Google that, this will be my Pixelogic stream. And you know what? I always post it on my YouTube channel too, so you'll see it both places. But I'll stream next Tuesday on Pixelogic's channel. So first Tuesday and Thursday of the month. And alrighty, cool, awesome. Thanks everybody, and I'll catch you on